Greetings everyone, my name is HAGGAI Joseph, a 4th year student in Biophysics. My introductory details are shown as follows, and I'll be presenting about the efficacy and the potential of carbon-ion radiation therapy. Carbon-ion radiation therapy is defined as utilizing radiation from heavy ions, in this case carbon instead of the conventional photons. Bear in mind that I'll be referring to this therapy as the acronym CIRT from now on for simplicity purposes. I will present the case of efficacy and the potential of CIRT in cancer treatment. The main criterion of why a lot of people in the medical field that advocate for CIRT is due to the ability to target specific tumor cells without causing excessive damage to the distal healthy tissue. For comparison, its alternative of photon radiation. What we would expect is the bioefficacy of the radiation will decrease with depth. This is due to the energy from the ions dissipate into the tissue distal to its radiation trajectory. This in turn causes higher damage to the tissue closest to the initial contact. For carbon ions, it is the opposite way. The bioefficacy will increase with depth up till a finite depth. What is the reason behind this? This is actually due to a characteristic of the heavy ion radiation. In this case, where carbon will exhibit a Bragg's peak, which indicates the increment of energy loss to it as it travels through matter up till a finite depth. How does it work? How does the radiation's peak even exist in the pattern at the first place? At the initial moment of ions, it enters the body tissue. The ions slow down due to the dissipation of energy into the cells along the trajectory. Simultaneously, the initial radiation forces a cascade of collisions among atoms of the surrounding. At this point, the increment of the collisions is actually greater than the loss of energy, which causes it to appear that the collision is greater than the slowing down of ions. This is due to when atoms of solid receive significant recoil, they will actually be removed from the lattice. This in turn allows for a cascade of collisions at a greater area, which translates to the increase in the interaction cross-section. When the energy of the atoms falls below a certain threshold energy value, this production of new damage to the lattice structure ceases, which correlates to the apparent drop in energy loss to the surrounding. So in a nutshell, the increase of the interaction cross-section actually dominates the loss of energy in charged particles up till threshold energy value. The relative biological effectiveness, or RBE for short, which I will now refer from now on, it indicates the damage done per unit energy. So a parameter that affects the RBE is actually linear energy transfer, or LET for short. So actually LET is the average energy deposit, the trajectory of charged particle. Therefore, we can see that if the LET is higher, the energy loss will also be higher, which results in the speed of the ions to be little lower, which was actually previously explained in due to the elastic collisions with matter, thus dissipates energy along the way. So RBE is proportional to LTE, where if LTE is higher, the damage done per unit energy will also be higher. Experimentally, radiation from low energy ions and photons exhibit higher density cluster of ionization. This will in turn result in a higher damage to the DNA of the tumor cells, which corresponds to higher RBE per its definition. For heavy ions like carbon, as mentioned, will exhibit high RBE up till a finite depth. The characteristic of CIRT, which is Bragg's peak, due to the high RBE, it allows for the reduction of risk when higher doses of radiation is applied, as we actually expect the damage to be the most at the tumor site. Experimentally, it is shown that actually when dose applied, it increases, the RBE will decrease. However, the rate is not the same for cancerous and healthy cells. Relatively, the RBE for cancer cells it decreases faster relative to healthy cells. Therefore, the amount of energy needed to apply the same damage to healthy cells is relatively higher than to cancer cells. Thus, even if by and large more energy is needed to cause damage as the dose is increased, by actual ratio, the cancer cell will even be more fragile in a sense compared to normal cells. That is all from me. I hope my presentation has been beneficial to you. Thank you.